Greetings from the C.M. Russell Museum. Thank you for joining us in this virtual rendition of the 2020 Heritage Award Dinner. We, of course, are disappointed that we are unable to honor these two worthy recipients in person, but hope you'll stay with us as we celebrate their legacy from a distance. The C.M. Russell Museum proudly presents the Western Heritage Award, given annually to honor those whose distinguished legacies inspire others here in Montana and throughout the United States. They are leaders who provide outstanding contributions to the cultural heritage of the American West. Above all, the Western Heritage Awards recognize those who have embodied values that we celebrate as a museum and which Charlie Russell captured with his brush, with his art. Celebrating the lives and accomplishments of the 2020 honorees is the best way to promote their vibrancy in our world today. Our 2020 Western Heritage Award recognizes longtime advocate for Native American affairs, Chief Earl Old Person, as well as acclaimed author and historian David McCullough. I'd like to now introduce Gloria and Gary Beam, longtime patrons and friends of the C.M. Russell Museum and our generous sponsors for the 2020 awards.
Greetings, everyone, from St. Louis, Missouri, birthplace of our friend Charlie Russell. I'm Gary Beam, and together with my wife, Gloria, we are proud to be the presenting sponsors this year for the 2020 Western Heritage Award. And while we sure wish we would be celebrating with you all at dinner in Great Falls, we hope you and your families are healthy and well. Gloria and I are pleased to support this year's virtual award ceremony, and we hope you enjoy this special recognition of two very deserving recipients. We look forward to gathering together again as friends and fans of American Western art.
To introduce our Western Heritage Award recipient for statesmanship, I'm pleased to introduce Peter Rice, grandson of artist Old Rice, famous for his paintings of Blackfeet Indians, including Earl Old Person as a youth with his brother.
Good afternoon. It is an honor to be with you all today, albeit virtually. My wife Patricia and I now reside in Three Forks, Montana. However, I grew up in upstate New York on the farm that my artist grandfather, Old Rice, bought in 1938. While my grandfather's art was wide and varied, his primary objective was to create, through his paintings, a permanent living record of the culture of the Blackfeet Indians of Montana. On my 21st birthday, I was gifted the living record of what my father always referred to as the heart of the collection. However, in reality, I never felt that the collection belonged to me personally, but to the American people, most particularly the Blackfeet. In 1986, the C.M. Russell Museum held a major exhibition of over 90 of my grandfather's paintings. Our museum's interest in his work, the quality of our museum, and the locations so close to the land of and to the Blackfoot people themselves brought me to an agreement of gifting most of my collection to the museum, completing my grandfather's dream. Rather than 20 or 30 people seeing the paintings each year in our home, tens of thousands of people can enjoy them and thereby have a real window into the great culture that they represent. 19 years later, I was asked to give a presentation on my grandfather and his life and art. As is the case today, the painting of Cold Wind, as Chief Old Person was then known, and his brother dipping him out of the water, Siku, was behind me as I spoke, and Chief Old Person was seated in front of me during the event. Following the wonderful stories by Chief Old Person and those others in the room who knew my grandfather from when he had painted their portraits so many years ago, Chief Old Person bestowed upon me the greatest honor of my life, inducting me into the Blackfoot Nation with the name Pitaputa, or Flying Eagle. The name given to me was in part due to my primary profession as a pilot for Northwest Airlines. The honor was even more meaningful to me as Bullchild had so honored Vinold, my great uncle Hans, and my father Tjark, long before I was born. Treasured family legends throughout the years. Preservation of Charlie Russell's culture, life, and country of the West is a key part of the museum's mission, and I believe that Chief Old Person perfectly personifies Montana's culture, life, and country. In 1938, as a 9-year-old, probably about the same age he was when Reinhold Rice painted his portraits you see behind me, Colwyn Susapu in Blackfeet spent 6 weeks in Cleveland and New York City presenting traditional Blackfeet song and dance to schools, colleges, and civic organizations. Earl's nephew, Harold Dusty Bull, stated that it was one of the first promotions of our culture outside of our reservation. And all of the proceeds he raised during those 6 weeks were used to build a new church at Holy Family Mission over in Two Medicine, southeast of Browning. Thus began, at a very early age, a magnificent lifelong career, the lifetime of statesmanship that we are honored to celebrate today. At the urging of tribal leaders in 1954, Chief Old Person was elected to his first term as a tribal council member. He was just 25 years old and remains the youngest tribal member ever elected to the Blackfeet tribe's most powerful legislative body. Between 1964 and 1969, he became chairman of the Blackfeet Tribal Business Council, became president of the affiliated tribes of the Northwest, and ultimately served for 2 years as the president of the National Congress of American Indians. In 1971, Chief Old Person was invited by the Shah of Iran to Tehran to attend ceremonies celebrating the 2,500th anniversary of the establishment of the Persian Empire. The story the chief shares of that experience is priceless. During a formal celebration in 1978, the son of Chief Whitecalf, James Whitecalf, and his family bestowed the tribal chiefmanship upon Earl Old Person. Chief Old Person served 26 terms on the Blackfoot Tribal Business Council, the tribe's highest representative body. He held public office for 56 years, longer than any other elected official in Montana history. 34 of those years were as tribal chairman. He was one of only 2 Blackfeet ever elected president of the National Congress of American Indians and was instrumental in establishing the Blackfoot Reservation's first modern hospital. An incredible example of the prominence and respect that he earned both in the United States and around the globe is that as of 2015, Chief Old Person had met with every sitting U.S. president since Harry Truman. Additionally, he was invited by Queen Elizabeth to attend the Commonwealth Games in Edmonton, where he met with the British royal family and Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau. Blackfoot Chairman Harry Barnes stated, "I respect and truly believe him to be the single most important leader of the Blackfeet people." Chairman Barnes certainly called it when he added, "True leadership is not seated in power. True leadership is seated in the strength of heart not the strength of muscle or the power you might have. That's the stuff of Earl Old Person. That's the lessons I've learned from him. In 2015, Chief Old Person stated, "It's pretty rough being 86, but I thank the Creator for allowing me anything. At least I am still going." Well, may I suggest that now 5 years later, we all can join Chief Old Person in thanking the Creator. The Chief is still going for more years to come. It is my honor and pleasure to present the Western Heritage Award for Statesmanship to Chief Earl Old Person.
Well, it's indeed an honor for this award that's being bestowed upon me. It brings back a lot of memories of the time that I first saw and met Wino Reese as a child, and how he was around our Blackfeet nation. I was one of those that took part when they spread the ashes around Red Blanket Hill. That was the most sacred hill near the Glacier National Park. It was a day of celebration when that took place. It doesn't matter how many are gathered here today. What's important is what's behind it, and the things that we stand for, that we can still look to them as a guidance, taking a lead for us, and still look back and remember those good times. Sometimes there may be some bad times, but we always say the good times is over the bad time. I've been honored from my people, the way they have bestowed many things upon me through my leadership. I've done my best to do the kinds of things that was required of me as a leader. I was very young. I had an experience prior, as was stated here at the opening. I had prior experience in travel. My first travel was coming to Great Falls in 1936. I entertained at the basketball state tournament. Browning played against Wolf Point. The reason I was asked to come down, that my teachers took me down. My brother escorted me. He's the one that sang the songs while I danced at the halftime of that state championship game. My people done the best that they could to select leaders that would guide them, and I happened to be one of them. I served some national organizations, such as National Congress of American Indians. That's not something that I try to bring myself up. It just depends on how we were able to handle those kinds of honors that were come upon you, and to do them right, to be able to show that we have the kind of leadership to help bring together this country that we call America. And so today, I'm always grateful to see people like Norma Ashby. She was one of those that acknowledge our people through their dancing, through their songs, and she helped promote our North American Indian Days. And I remember that way back in the early 60s and 70s. So all those come back, and today this honor that's being bestowed upon me is going to be something that I will remember. I don't know how much longer I will go, but I'm still going. I'm 91 years old, but that's not slowing me down. I came down today for a doctor's appointment, and he says I'm okay. So today I appreciate everything that you folks have showed and have brought to me today. It brings me with a lot of pride. There's people like, there's an individual that was very close to Wino Reese. His name was George Bullchild. And George Bullchild had a song that he sang, and I still have that song. And I'll sing it for you today, because that was his song. That's the introduction of it. This is the song that George Bullchild, he composed, and it was a society song. And he took the lead of that society, Rough Rider Society. I lost an individual this morning, a family member of mine, and he was one of the two that was still able to sing with me our traditional songs. And now I have one left that can sing with me, that know our traditional honor songs that we have. Our people have lost those songs. We keep them going. After we're gone, I don't know who's going to keep them going. But we lost my nephew this morning. He was one of those that helped me sing and helped me keep up those traditional songs. And so with that, people, I certainly appreciate. There's no words to express my appreciation, to be really, but I want you to know that I'm going to bring it back home, let my people know. They asked me what's going to take place. I told them it's not going to be what it was supposed to be, but I'm going to be honored, however it's going to be handled. So they're waiting to know what it is. Thank you.
We are so grateful for the wonderful legacy Chief Earl Old Person has forged for all of us. The Chief follows the 2019 recipient for statesmanship, former United States Senator Alan Simpson from Wyoming. I'd now like to welcome Senator Simpson's daughter, Sue, to introduce to us our next award recipient.
Hi. Why was I asked to accept this award for David McCullough? Well, I like to think of myself as his daughter from the West. I would say Wyoming daughter, but his daughter Dory now lives in Wyoming, so I'm going with daughter from the West. I have known David McCullough since I was 12 years old. A delightful twist of fate landed my brother Bill and David McCullough Jr. at Deerfield Academy in Deerfield, Massachusetts in 1975. It was Parents' Weekend. My parents and David and Rosalie hit it off immediately. Rosalie and Mom went for a walk and spoke of themselves and their children, and Dad and David went for a walk, spoke of many things, and got to know one another. And as family lore would have it, my dad asked David, "So Bill says you're a writer. What have you written?" And David said, "I've written a book on the Johnstown flood and the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm currently working on a book on the Panama Canal." And Dad thought to himself, "Wow, fascinating stuff. Good luck to you, buddy." And David asked Dad, "And you?" And Dad said, "I'm a small town lawyer who serves in the Wyoming State Legislature, and I'm thinking of running for the U.S. Senate." And David thought to himself, "Well, good luck to you, pal." And the rest, as they say, is history. From that moment on, our families became entwined in a remarkable way. My brothers and my cousins spent part of the summers in Martha's Vineyard with the McCulloughs. Jeff McCullough, their youngest son, who is like a son to my parents and a brother to my brothers and myself, spent many summers with our grandparents on their ranch on the South Fork of the Shoshone River. My former boyfriend, Tim Lawson, married Dory McCullough, my little sister. I have spent wonderful times with David McCullough. I have walked on the beach with him. I have been the chosen one, having him to myself for questions and conversations. I have sung to and with him and eaten his Sunday night spaghetti. He is a mentor to me. David and my dad have spent endless evenings sharing stories and singing songs such as "Don't Fence Me In," "Hey Good Lookin'," and "Good Night Ladies," sharing other limericks and poems. Their capacity for memorization and recitation of Shakespeare, Robert Service, and the Rubaiyat is truly awesome. It is David McCullough's storytelling ability that is being honored today. He has an ability to tell other people's stories. He could not tell those stories so beautifully if he were not interested in others. David honors the spirit of creativity and the humanity in all of us. Amidst all of the acclaim and accolades, he has never gotten too fancy. Family and friendships will always hold the power and wonder of life for him. David not only loves people and words, he loves music and art. He is an accomplished watercolorist. He is a self-trained art historian. He is a voracious learner. He honors the power of personal expression. All of the traits of the human subjects in his books exemplify leadership, tenacity, vision, and courage, just as the author does. David McCullough tells us why history matters. He fosters respect and gratitude for those who came before. He believes that people are the most interesting subject there is. And because history tells stories of people, there is no excuse for it to be boring. Others have said about David McCullough, he is the voice of American history. He has given our country and the world a literary and historical legacy that is not going to ever be matched. As Charlie Russell captured the American West in pictures, David McCullough captured America and its frontier past in words. And like Charlie Russell, David McCullough acknowledges his wife's contribution to his success, recognizing that without Rosalie's undaunted courage, steadfast support, and unending love, that he would not be the person that he is, let alone done the work that he has. After their first date at a dance when David was 17 years old, the same age Nancy was when she met Charlie, wearing a white dinner jacket and dancing till dawn, David and Rosalie formed an incomparable partnership and have traveled the world, making friends everywhere. Writing about famous people of the past makes one aware that there is a lot to measure up to in learning about life, about what it means to be a good human. David McCullough is that in spades, and I am humbled and honored by his friendship.
I had the good fortune to grow up in a house full of books. And that's the wonder, of course, of marvelous books, is they open up these gates for you. The Little Engine That Could had a huge effect on me as a child. I loved that book, still do. Most of my books have been about people not giving up. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, like The Little Engine That Could. Only they knew they could do it. They didn't just think they could do it, they knew it.
In my dreams,
We're Scotch-Irish, and storytelling, particularly with the Irish, is in your blood. And I think that talking is also in the blood. I had 3 brothers, mother, father, and grandmother, who often had dinner with us. And every dinner table conversation was replete with stories. And many of them were about eccentric people in the family. And I loved those stories. Peculiar people that were hilarious in their peculiarities. Nothing of much value is ever accomplished alone. It's a joint effort. No such thing as a self-made man or woman. Never was. And anybody who talks that way has got a distorted ego. We're all the creations of our parents, our teachers, our friends, our rivals, strangers that we never imagined we'd encounter, have all shaped us. I think if I had it to do over again, the thing that I would absolutely do first off would be thank my parents in every way I could for what they provided. Gratitude is something that we need to exercise more of, express more often, all of us. And I think that history and growing older emphasizes that reality.
On behalf of David McCullough, I gratefully accept this C.M. Russell Heritage Award. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the 2020 Western Heritage Awards. In times like this, there's no better opportunity for us to celebrate the virtues and characteristics that make the West unique, and this year's honorees embody those. Thank you for your support to the C.M. Russell Museum, and take care.